Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing a donation deck list from a friend of the channel, which is part of the membership package that I offer for my channel. So they sent me this list from a Japanese tournament and boy howdy is it wild. So this is a Monogreen Painter's Servant Dark Depths deck. So if you've watched my channel you know that I play quite a bit of Painter's Servant, but I play even more Dark Depths stuff. So this is very much in my wheelhouse and I'm really looking forward to it. So we've got two separate things going on here. So we're talking about Painter first. So if you play Painter and name a colour, then every card in your opponent's library is going to be the same colour. So when you play Grindstone and activate it, you'll mill over your opponent's entire library. So this is just a 2-card combo that mills out your opponent. And we can get the Grindstone off of these Urza Sagas, which is pretty decent. Now we also have 2 Karn the Great Creator, which can then go and find the Painter or the Grindstone from the sideboard. So this is like one of the combos, and we can power this out a bit quicker because we've got Ancient Tombs as well as Mox Diamonds to just power out the mana to do this. This is 6 mana total you need for this. 2 for the Painter, 1 for the Grindstone, 3 for the activation. So between a few lands you can get that going pretty sharpish. So that's one combo. Now we have the other combo, which is Dark Depths plus Thespian Stage. So if you target Dark Depths with a Thespian Stage, it becomes a copy of it with no counters on it and then becomes a 20/20. So you lose both these lands, but you get a 20/20 indestructible flyer. So that's the other combo. And we've got lots of ways to support this. So you've got Crop Rotation to find them. We've got Elvish Reclaimer to find them. We have Sylvan Library just as a good bit of glue to hold the whole thing together. We have Life from the Loam, which we can then sort of dredge and eventually find our pieces and assemble our combo. Then we also have some Exploration, which filters into the playing both of our lands to get the Dark Depths to go off, as well as ramping us out to play Painter Grindstone. So that's kind of the main angles of attack, but we've got a lot of silver bullets to work with here. Because we're a Elvish Reclaimer crop rotation deck, we have a lot of lands to look through. So we've got Bojuka Bog to remove graveyards. Boseiju is a weird one. This is mainly going to be for Life from the Loaming back, but what you can do is you can get it with Reclaimer and then sack the to Reclaimer to get something else, and then you've got it in your graveyard to then start looping with Life from the Loam. We've got a Glacial Chasm. Now, if we can play multiple lands a turn and we have a Life from the Loam, we can certainly play this, play a bunch of lands, and we'll sort of ignore the clause that makes us sacrifice lands, because we'll be able to play more lands over the top of it. And we can just sort of turtle behind this until we're ready to Painter's Servant, because we have a win condition that doesn't require the combat step. We have a Karakas, pretty standard land here for bouncing various legendary permanents. A lot of sneak and show around at the moment, a lot of reanimators, so this is pretty handy. We've got a Maze of Ith. If we just need to buy some time or just keep a creature at bay, Maze of Ith is pretty good for doing that. Sejiri Steppe, this is mainly there to give protection to our Marit Lage, so it can swing through for 20, or dodge removal like a Swords to Plowshares, but it can also protect our Painter's Servant, which is a nice little trick we have here. We have 1 Wasteland, so we're not super heavy into lands package here. We're not like a full-on lands deck. We are very much in the depths strategy of things. So this Wasteland is if we need it, we can go find it and blow some stuff up with it. So it may need to kill things like opposing Wastelands or Karakases. Then we got 4 Yavimayas here, because we will need green mana, and this is the best way to get it, and also means with Yavimaya, Dark Depths and Thespian Stage together, that's enough mana to make a 20/20. So that's the sort of land silver bullets, and we've got a few other silver bullets because we're running Urza Saga. So we've got Shadowspear. Sometimes you can just play an Urza Saga game and win the game with a Shadowspear, basically. Just make some tokens, put Shadowspear on them, bash away. Game 1 against things like Delver, that's quite often good enough as long as you can sort of avoid the Murktide. We have a Haywire Mite, which is a good piece of interaction here, so we can go blow up some problem permanents, whether that's a Blood Moon or whatever, we can do that. Then we have an Expedition map, which can obviously find us either half of our combo or one of our silver bullets. The Grindstone, which we've already mentioned, and then the Pithing Needle, which is an interesting one. I think because we're running Pithing Needle, we should be running Ghost Quarter instead of Wasteland, so we can name Wasteland with Pithing Needle, then get Ghost Quarter and strip all our opponent's lands, which strips all of their lands eventually. But because we only have 1 Wasteland, this isn't necessarily stepping on each other's toes too much. And we do have Karn, which can just win the deck. Now, win the game. The interesting thing about Karn here is we don't have like the standard Karn package. We've literally just got Grindstone, Painter's Servant, and the Helm. So we don't have a lot of things. So we don't have any like Microsynth Lattice or Liquid Metal Coating. We don't have that plan. What we do have in the sideboard though is 4 Lane on the Void, which is my favourite piece of graveyard hate. Makes sense. Because we're bringing these in, we can bring in 1 Helm of Obedience, leave 1 in the board. So we effectively have 3 because the 2 Karns count as them. So that just gives us another way of winning, another angle if we need it. So if we're boarding these anyway, we may as well board in this one card that can win us the game. We have one crop rotation. Now, the interesting thing about this is it's in the sideboard. So normally you would see 4 of these in the main, but we're relying more on the Elvish Reclaimers here because these aren't card disadvantage. Once you get them in, they sort of do their thing, and you can't horribly get caught out by a counter spell. Now, you can get caught out by something like an opposition agent, but that's a lot less likely than finding a force or a daze or whatever. So against non-blue decks, we're probably going to be boarding in crop rotations a fair bit, I'd imagine. Then we got 3 Carpet Flowers, which we'll be boarding in for the blue decks, because if we can ramp out some mana, it's going to make it a lot easier to cast Painter combo, because again, it's 6 mana combo in total, but you can split that over multiple turns. Carpet Flowers means we might just be able to do that all in one turn quite easily. We've got the other 2 sideboard targets for the Karn we spoke about, and then we have this card, Warping Whale. Now, I haven't really played this since I played Eldrazi Stompy, so this is exile target creature with power or toughness 1 or less. So there's a few targets that'll be useful for, things like Emery, Goblin Welders, stuff like that. But the main one is probably going to be the counter target sorcery spell, specifically Meltdown, which is going to hit like all of our Urza Saga tokens and a bunch of our artifacts. So that's probably going to be useful for that. We can also make an Eldrazi Scion, which I don't think is going to be that useful, but if we come up against Dredge or something, maybe we want this because it gives us a guy we can sack and remove bridges. I'm not convinced on the Warping Whale, but hopefully we'll play some matchups and go, oh, okay, this is what it's there for. And that's pretty much it for the deck. Quite a lot of weird moving pieces and multiple plans of attack, which I quite like. And the plans of attack operate very differently. Now, they are both creature-based, but obviously this one is indestructible and is more like a land-based combo. And we can rebuy it several times with Life from the Loam. Whereas this one is just make 2 guys, ignore the combat step. Make 2 cards, ignore the combat step, mill your opponent out. So I do like that we have these 2 combos that are quite different, but they both benefit from things like Mana Ramp from Exploration and Mox Diamond. So they kind of have overlap in terms of what supports them, but the way they actually win is kind of different. All right, I think that's it today. So before I get into the league, before I get into the league today, like, comment, subscribe. These are things you can do for free that really help the channel out. And you can become a member. And if you go for the highest tier of membership, then you can submit a donation deck list like we've done today. All right, let's play some Monogreen Painter. I'm sure I'll come up with a really good name for it at some point today. So we're on the play for round 1. Our hand is a bit of a weird one. I don't like the Mox Diamond here. I don't like the Karn here. And I don't like the Pithing Needle. So I think we could mulligan and end up with a pretty similar hand. Even with less cards, it will be just as good or better. So we're going to mulligan this. What do we have here? So we have an Urza Saga game from turn 2 onwards, and we can play Pithing Needle out onto the Wasteland, so our Urza Saga can do its thing, and we have a Karn the Great Creator in case that doesn't work. So I think we keep this, we can get rid of one of the Karns, and we're done here. So the Karn can also get us our combo piece, because this can get us the Grindstone. Right, so let's play out our Urza Saga first. Let's play out a Pithing Needle. I think we just put this straight on Wasteland because we're very much all in on this Saga. We can't afford to have it go badly. I think we want to play the Mox Diamond now in case our opponent plays something like a Thalia or something. If they're like mono-white Prison or Initiative deck, something like that. All right, so we'll pitch this Yavimaya because we don't want to help our opponent. We'd rather keep our basic in case that's something we're going to need. We already have green mana from our Mox Diamond here. We are representing something like a crop rotation. Okay, Prismatic Vista. This usually means a fair sort of blue-white type deck. Prismatic Ending on the Mox Diamond. That's pretty bad for us. That's going to ruin our entire plan, in fact. All right, we are behind. Oh my god, I'm so good at this game. I drew the Ancient Tomb. Perfect. So Urza Saga is a very, very good card against these sorts of control decks because they have to spend so many resources dealing with the things that come out of this for free. I don't think we're going to get much use out of this Pithing Needle, though. But hopefully Urza Saga can do its thing and go, at least go some of the way to winning this game for us. Or expending our opponent's resources so our combo can just win the game when the time comes. What are we drawn here? Okay, this is good. So we will make another token here. So Dress Down is going to be very bad for us here because it can just kill both of our guys. It's not going to be super bad, but it's more or less a free way they can deal with our Saga tokens instead of having to trade 1 for 1 for them. Now, whether or not our opponent runs Dress Down, I don't know. Okay, so what are we going to find here? I think we are just going to find the Grindstone here. And we're going to play out our basic land, with the idea that next turn we're going to do some Ancient Tomb shenanigans. And play this Karn. And we can minus this and get a Painter, and then our opponent kind of has to keep up their removal or counter spells in order to deal with our stuff. Okay, so this is what I mean. So the Urza Saga turned into a Grindstone, but gave us 2 guys along the way, and they've just had to use the whole card to deal with a third of our card. So that's pretty good. And any removal they use is going to be pretty great for us moving forward. This also signals our opponent doesn't have Dress Down in their hand, which means you can get a Painter down. Let's try for this. Actually, I think we want to attack first in case that becomes relevant. So they might expend some mana on this, which allows us to slip the Karn through more easily. So they're cracking their Flooded Strand. They're getting a basic island. This could be a Snapcaster Plow. A Shark Typhoon for 1. So this is probably just going to be buying them some life. But they might have done this differently if we'd have played the Karn first. They might be more inclined to attack our Karn. So is this just going to be chump blocking for a turn? Yes, okay. That's fine. So now we're going to try for this Karn. We're taking 4 life for it, but our life total is probably not the thing that's under threat in this matchup. It's whether or not we can get our stuff going. Force of Will, pitching Supreme Verdict. Okay. We could play this Exploration here, or we could hold up a potential crop rotation and let our opponent live in fear. We don't have additional land, so this isn't really doing a great deal for us right now. If we get something like a Life from the Loam, then we're going to want to put the Exploration into play. Okay, so our opponent's got 3 cards in hand, and they're just passing back to us. So we've drawn another Forest. So I think we go to attacks. Let's see how much damage we can get in with this Construct token. So I think we will play this Exploration out. Yeah, I think we'll play... I don't want to just play out into Prismatic Ending just yet, actually. Because we have 2 green sources, it means we can Life from the Loam and play Exploration the same turn. So we just have our opponent living in a little bit of fear of what we've got in hand. We might be on manual grinds for our opponent here. We can also manually grind ourselves until we hit a Life from the Loam, which I think is probably a better play. Alright, Teferi Time Rabbit. So we're going to lose our Construct token here. That's fine. So in the end step, we're going to grind ourselves here. Pop our Grapevine out and see what we got here. Okay, so there's a Dark Depth. So we've kind of shown our hand a little bit here. Haywire Mite. Non-creature artifact, non-creature enchantments. That's not either of the things that are in play right now, unfortunately. But we can play out this Haywire Mite now. And then we can Grindstone ourselves in the end step again. And hopefully find a Life from the Loam. We're just using our life total as a resource with these tombs right now. Wouldn't mind a Yavimaya, but we threw that back earlier because we'd rather have had the basic. A Narset Part of Veils. Sure. Not ideal. Let's see what they're going to find off of this. Our opponent is definitely rounding the corner. Days Undoing. Okay. So we can Grindstone ourselves here. And they'll just shuffle it in maybe. Because they can do this at instant speed. So maybe we shouldn't be wasting our life points on this. So they're going to cast this in our upkeep and we're not going to get anything. And we drew a Life from the Loam, which is unfortunate for us. So because of Teferi, they get to cast this and use it. Basically, it's a time walk as well. So we don't get to attack, we don't get to do anything. And we don't get any cards because we've already drawn 1 card for a turn. So, oh, if it's your turn, end of turn, sorry, isn't it? Yeah. So we can still attack the... I think we have to attack the Narset here. So if they dig with it, they can't get anything else. This game is almost certainly over, though. Our opponent has wheeled all our cards away and dealt with our threats quite effectively. Unfortunately, they've got to see all of our threats as well, because they've seen the Dark Depths. Staff the Storyteller. Okay, this is one that we can quite easily answer. I think we answer with this on the stack. The reason we do it now is if they do a Days Undoing, it means that they don't get the 1/1 because it'll end the turn. And they can't draw the card while the trigger's on the stack either because it doesn't have any counters. I don't think there's much point in grindstoning them here, or us. Okay. This is a thing. Let's cast it and see if it resolves. I suspect not with the amount of cards in our opponent's hand. Yeah, there's a Force of Negation. Sure. This game is over for the most part here. But we'll play a few more turns out, see if we can see anything interesting like red mana. We had to expect they might have this for access for Pyroblast, which isn't really going to be relevant in this matchup, but it might mean Meltdown is in their sideboard. Okay, so we've got a thing that we can do here. So we will just pass you a turn. Now we can grind without taking damage. It's worth doing. So we want to grind ourselves, try and find Life from the Loam and stuff. Okay, they just bounced the Grindstone. That's fine. We should have ground ourselves in response, but I'm sort of passing through a little bit. I'm somewhat checked out of this game because we are a little bit behind. Okay, this is an interesting one to me. So the problem is we can't crop rotate for anything to deal with a Teferi here, because we have to do it now because of Teferi, and then they'll just bounce it in their turn. So we kind of need them to use their Teferi to bounce something. Let's just try and play this out. Okay, so that's stuck. Interesting. If we crop rotate for anything now, maybe that will go poorly for us. I think we're in a situation where we just have to try it. This is a very juicy counterspell target. They've got loads of mana, loads of resources. I'm expecting this to get countered. Yeah, hard cast Force of Will. Sure. That was certainly something we were expecting to happen. Could have pitched an Ancient Tomb for that, but if we draw like a Karn, we'd like to be able to get our Karn line going. This also can just bounce whenever it wants. I think we are milling ourselves here. They've got a clock in play, but we are speeding up a lot by doing that. We could have milled ourselves in the upkeep as well. How do I feel about this Karakas? It's fine. It does give us a source to use our Grindstone as we see fit, though, without damaging ourselves. Again, I think this game has been over for a while, but there is a possibility that they don't have anything. Shark Typhoon. So this is a hard cast Shark Typhoon. So the only thing that we can do to try and win the game now is a Painter, because they're always going to have tokens to block our Marilage. Now we might be able to Sejiri Steppe as well, which is a possibility that we can at least play too. But again, I think we are just wasting time here a little bit. Natural draw. Okay, we have an Exploration. I don't think we care about that just yet. I think we could just concede here, actually. I think we've wasted enough time. We've seen enough of our opponent's deck. All right, so what's going to be good in this matchup? Carpet of Flowers is going to be good. Warping Whale is an interesting one because they've got things like the wheel effect. So I'm certainly interested in these. I don't think we want ley lines here. The crop rotations are pretty bad in their very strong counterspell heavy deck. Karakas probably isn't going to do anything for us here. We didn't see any green mana for anything like a Minsc Boo, so we can trim the Karakas. Maze of Ith is unlikely to do anything, as is the Glacial Chasm. So I think this is probably what we're looking at here. These matchups, I tend to prefer being on the blue side rather than the green side. Excuse me, for these sorts of matchups. What have we got here? So we got Carpet Flowers. We got Urza Saga. This is a lot of stuff here. Like, we can keep this. I think we just play out the carpet first and give our opponent something to think about. Now this might get Prismatic Endinged, but if it doesn't, then we do alright. So next time we can play the Saga and hold up a Warping Whale, if that's a thing we want. Ooh, an Elvish Reclaimer. That certainly changes things a little bit, doesn't it? I will say yes this now just to get the trigger out of the way. So I think we're just playing this as a Saga out and play this Elvish Reclaimer. So we're kind of attacking our opponent with both of our directions here. Our hand enables... Okay, so that's just getting plowed, sure. That's not something we can interact with the Warping Whale anyway, even if we had the mana. Yeah, so we've got both halves of our combo, of both combos, when we had the Elvish Reclaimer. So they've taken one of that away. Fortunately, we have the Thespian stage half rather than the Dark Depths. The Dark Depths obviously don't tap for mana, so it's a bit weaker. This is something we could have Warping Whaled, but I don't think holding up just to hit a pond is worth it. We're trying to hit something a bit scarier. Yes, we'll use Carpet Flowers abilities without green mana. We'll play out our Ancient Tomb. We'll drop this Carpet Flowers. Lots of mana. I'm saying no to this. We could say yes and play the Painter, but I think we'll try and bait some stuff out with the Saga here. Let's make ourselves a token. Because last time they traded a load of resources, but then just reloaded with their combo and kind of buried us. This is good if we get the other part of our combo going. So we'll say yes. It's always green mana. Yes. It's always green mana. So I think we make a token here. I wanted to use the colourless mana, not the green mana, but it doesn't really matter too much, I don't think. The things we want to do are colourless anyway. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana, which isn't enough to do our thing and pop it. But we're going to force our opponent into dealing with these, and maybe we can counter a Meltdown with our Warping Whale on their turn. And then they might fight over these constructs, and then we can play Painted Servant combo and try and get them that way. Okay, so they're cracking this now to dodge a Pithing Needle on Flooded Strand. Yeah, so they're very much telegraphing the Meltdown as an option here. So we'll get this Grindstone. And play this out. So we can play out our Painted Servant right now. But that means if the Meltdown does go off, then we're a lot further behind. What we can do here, though, is Life from the Loam back this as a Saga. Force of Negation. Pitching to Fairy Time Reveler. Okay. So we're bashing our opponent up. So we get one more damage if we play a Painted Servant, but if we can't stop their Meltdown that they're telegraphing with their Volcanic Island here, then we'll feel really bad. Like, we do have a chance to stop the Meltdown. Let's see if my colourless counterspell is going to do enough here. Ooh, it did. Now they're holding up a plough here. We'll say no to these. And then we'll do it in our second main phase after we've attacked. Because we might get this Source of Plowshares off of our opponent this turn. So we'll use these now and get green mana. Use this one. Get green mana. We will cast this guy. We will name green, I guess. And we don't need to grind now. We can wait till our opponent casts, because we think our opponent has a Source of Plowshares here. And we have our opponent almost dead on board. Another artifact kills them. If they try and kill our painter, a Meltdown. Okay, so we have to respond. And if they have the plough here, that we suspect they do have, then we lose. Yeah, so there's the plough that we knew they had, which is why we didn't grind before. They just happened to have drawn their second Meltdown. A bit unfortunate. So now we're looking at trying to draw a Dark Depths and try and get that way into the game. Now, our opponents used a lot of resources here. I think we'll play our Yavimaya. This does mean our opponent can tap fetch lands without hurting themselves, but I think the damage portion of this game is probably gone with that as a Saga disappearing. I wouldn't mind having something good to copy with our Thespian stage soon. We'll copy this forest right now, so we have a basic just in case they have a Wasteland in their deck, which these decks sometimes can run. So our opponents, if they find the Days Undoing, they just get to reload next turn, and that's probably game over. So not in a great spot. Another Narset. Okay, that digs them. That means they can dig another 8 cards to find what they need. Not great. I'll say no to this. No to this. And I think we'll play out this Thespian stage. And we'll have 6 through the rest of our turn. Say no to this. Say no to this. It's unlikely our opponent plays a land that we want to copy, but it's possible. They could have a Karakas in the deck, for example. Okay, so I have a Force of Will. So the chances of us resolving anything for the rest of this game is very low. We need... This is the sort of game where if we'd have had a Sylvan Library early on just to get a load of card advantage, because our life total is not under pressure, we can just, you know, get 4 cards out of it. Okay, so there's a Narset. Again, if they find a Days Undoing, it's probably game over. We lose our advantage, the fact that we've ground a lot of cards out of our opponent. Obviously now they don't have more of these. Sure. Say no to these. Play this. Say no to these. We're just clicking through. Like, we could copy stuff there, but we're just not in... It's not really going to make any difference right now. These tap for green already. They haven't shown us Ruination or anything, and if we do, we can just activate response anyway. Hardcast Shark Typhoon. Okay, this makes the Marit Lage line more or less impossible. Warping Whale. Okay. I think we'll give one more turn, and then we'll probably concede this game. Feels like this matchup is heavily in favour of our opponent, I would say. We don't have anything like Veil of Summer to force things through in this deck either. Alright. So, I'm playing another Narset. Again, a Shark. So this will end the game pretty quickly. I'm not really sure what draw we're looking for here that's going to pull us out of this game, but we'll see. We know they've got this Force of Will. Karn's not going to do anything here. We don't even have things like Ensnaring Bridge to like turtle up. Not that I think it's very good against our opponent's deck anyway, when they've got Meltdown to Fairy and Prismatic Ending in their 3-colour deck. So there's a Days Undoing, so they can wheel us out of the game whenever they like. We do get to Warping Whale that, but I think we're just done here. Our opponent's so far ahead. We'll just pack it in and save our time. All right. Yeah, so counter spells on clutch things and very good removal that lines up. The double meltdown, I think, cost us this game. If it wasn't double meltdown, I think we can probably win this one. But good sideboard cards are good for a reason, right? We counted the first, the second got us. All right, let's go to round 2. This hand would be good. We're on the draw, by the way. This hand would be good if we had a green source. But we have a disappearing land and a land that doesn't actually tap for any mana, so I don't think we can keep this. This doesn't have green mana, but it does have a turn 3 painter kill. So I think we can keep this and get rid of one of the crop rotations. We don't have the green mana for it anyway. So we are threatening both combos here. So it's a beautiful hand. It's visually very impressive. So we'll lead out on Saga and hope that our opponent isn't a heavy Wasteland deck, because they will bury us if they are. Cavern of Souls. What are we looking at here? Human, so probably on the initiative spectrum. So it could be like Bant Initiative, or it could be actual factual humans, which hasn't been around for a while, but with initiative gone, maybe humans is alright now. Right. An aggro deck is something that we can certainly deal with the hand we have. We have a turn 3 kill, we play out Painter Servant next turn, play out the Thespian stage a turn after. Basic Plains. This will be a turn, hopefully, where we get a bit more information as to what our opponent's doing. Could be something like a Thalia. 1 on a green. A Boseiju. Yikes. Okay. Yes, we'll use its ability. We'll get one of these forests. I think at end of turn, we're just going to turn this into an Urza Saga again. We're not going to actually miss any time on our clock by doing this, because it's going to go up to 2 this turn. Play this out. Drop the painter. We'll name black. It's unlikely they have snuff out, but humans can sometimes be a black deck. So, let's see. We can dodge a snuff out by doing this, basically. If they go like swamp snuff out. Again, seems unlikely, but it's free to play, and I don't think naming any other colours actually is better for us. Okay, this is just a guy. They are holding up Swords to Plowshares off of this guy, though. So we'll see if that's a thing they do. We kind of have to go for it because the mana we have from the Urza Saga is disappearing, but we do have the backup plan of Thespian stage. Okay, it does feel like a plow coming from our opponent. So let's go and get ourselves a Grindstone. Let's play ourselves a Forest. And let's try and Grindstone them. We got the plow off the Hierarch. They got Solitude. Sure. So we do have another Painted Servant that we can try again with. Are they going to ephemerate this? That would be really annoying, because then they get to keep their guy. Okay, they're not doing that. Okay, let's see what we're milling from them. An Ajani. Which one's this? Sleeper Agent. Interesting. And then we pass. So next time we can drop the Painted Servant and do this whole little rodeo all over again. Or the Exile. It was another Ajani, sure. So this is going to come in for 4 this turn. But again, we've got lots of life to work with, and if we're in a pinch, we can just play a 20/20, and if they kill it with the Swords to Plowshares, then we just get a whole new life total. Yep, we take 4 from this. Opponent's not casting anything in second main phase. Oh, this is interesting, actually. So we can do it all in 1 turn here. And because our opponent's left mana up, I'd rather not just play into it. So I think I'm going to play out this Ancient Tomb. And then I'm going to drop this Sylvan Library to help smooth our draws out a little bit. So if we can find like a crop rotation, we can then have a protected kill with Sejiri Steppe in our deck. Alternatively, we can play the Painter, then play the Sejiri Steppe. That's going to not be enough. What does this one do? Power and equal number of creatures. Yeah, it's just like sort of classic human-y guys doing some attacking. This is going to come in for 5 this turn. So our Ancient Tomb is certainly a real clock, but our opponent is tapped down, so they have to have a Solitude to stop us from winning, I think. They can't have 2 Solitudes, so our line about the Sejiri Steppe off a crop rotation will work if that's the thing that's going to happen. A Bojuka Bog. That's not the one, is it? Put this on top of Library. Put this on top of Library. So if we play out this Thespian stage here, we can drop this Painter. Now our opponent's tapped out, we can just mill the whole library. We'll name green. Let's mill our opponent. Do you have a second Solitude? They do have a second Solitude, pitching a Seasoned Dungeoneer. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we are dead here. We gain 1 here and they have lethal. Yeah, sure. So we could have gone for the Dark Depths line there, which means we gain 20. I think that would have been a safer line. But if they have anything like Prismatic Endings in their deck or any other way of getting through, then we die there. I don't know, maybe we should have gone for the Dark Depths line that turn. All right, let's go to sideboard and then see if we can do a little bit better. So what do we actually want here? None of these things feel good. Like this, killing a creature of toughness 1 or less is okay in this matchup. But it's still not great. It's just okay. I think what we're doing is just fundamentally powerful enough that we should just be fine doing it. I don't think we saw anything that was too scary for Pithing Needles. So, do I think our opponent's multicolored deck is going to have Wastelands in? I think we can just grind through the life from the Loam. I'm going to take out this Pithing Needle for a crop rotation and call it a day with that, I think. And submit. We're on the play. Yeah, I'm down with this hand. We can play a pretty good Urza Saga game if we want. Exploration. Play out our Urza Saga. Next turn we can start pumping out some constructs. Maybe do like Shadowspear and try and go the beatdown route. Sort of like our plan C. Or our like plan distract them. Oh, I do have Wastelands. That's a little bit of a kick in the teeth. Again, having that singleton Pithing Needle in our deck isn't going to be that useful here because most of the time we'll be getting off a Saga, and if our Saga survived, then we're not going to want that anyway. So now what are we looking at doing? We'll play out the Steppe because we're probably going to want to sacrifice the land to our Glacial Chasm later. And we're going to play out this Dark Depths. We may as well play out our Shadowspear as well. This gives our opponent a relatively clean Force of Vigor if they want it on Exploration and Shadowspear. But again, the Shadowspear isn't doing anything on this board. It's just there. And we're not Brainstorm decks, we can't shuffle it in. Yeah, our hand was alright. We got the one piece taken away. Okay, this seems fine to me. Do we play out... let's play out our Mox Diamond. Discard this. And play out our Thespian stage. We'll pass turn. And our opponent's upkeep, we will... Oh, no, we're not going to remove an ice counter. We're going to copy this. We're doing it now so that if our opponent removes it, it's going to take most of their turn. This also dodges the Wasteland that we now know is in our opponent's deck. They can use half of their mana for the turn to kill our guy and also give us 20 life. Okay, they're just going to do it that way. Sure. So we gain 20 life, which isn't bad against an aggro deck. If they ephemerate this, then they'll have a threatened board. And let's go. All right. Our opponent's deck is an interesting one. Sort of like a weird D&T Maverick hybrid almost. I don't know how much human synergy they're going to have in their deck. Outland Liberator. That certainly blows up our permanents. So we could do with a spell. Life from Loam would be the best draw here. That is not a spell. I think we still play out the Yavimaya here. Well, it does help our opponent's mana out because they can get green off of this if that's the thing they need. So I think we probably, if we do draw a Life from Loam and we lose our Exploration next turn, I think we do play out the Yavimaya here. Because they should take out our Exploration because that makes our Life from the Loams worse. So if we play that out now, then it's slightly better if we do Life from the Loams, so we'll have more mana to work with. Yep, our opponent feels like they are quite far ahead here. So it's going to attack, the trigger's going to go on, we're going to lose Exploration. Oh, they're losing the Shadowspear. That's the opponent I cared about least. Interesting. That is interesting. Another Outland Liberator. Alright, so we're going to lose both of our permanents next turn unless we can cast 2 spells, which seems unlikely. We do have a good spell, but the problem is our opponent has these 2 Frenzy Trap Breakers, so there's no point playing this out because it's just going to go under the bus immediately. So I guess we need to wait till we have a second spell so we can cast 2 spells and flip them, so it at least costs them their guy to blow it up. So we can use it kind of as like a removal spell. So we're going to lose our Exploration of Mox Diamond this turn. And they'll probably just play 1 spell because this guy flipped is very brutal against us. Yeah, we're getting punked pretty hard here. Feels like the strength of our deck is also one of its weaknesses. Okay, so we have a crop rotation and a Sylvan Library. Interesting. So we're definitely playing out this library. And then I guess we Crop rotate now, and we'll sacrifice this Sejiri Steppe. Now, I haven't quite worked out what I'm getting. Urza Saga feels very bad with these in play. Do we get a Thespian stage, or we can get a Maze of Ith so we can buy ourselves some more time? I don't hate the Maze of Ith buying us time here. That does cut down the amount of mana we have, though. So we can either get a Thespian stage and we'll have 3 mana, but 2 mana does cast Life from the Loam, and we don't. The only thing that's going to make us further away from is the Karn, which doesn't feel amazing right now anyway. So I think we just have. Actually, no, the Maze of Ith taps for mana because the Yavimaya, actually, doesn't it? Yeah, it's just the Maze of Ith. So you've cast 2 spells. So these will flip. So if they want to kill our Sylvan Library, they have to sacrifice a guy to do so. Which at least means we're getting a guy off the board with our library. And if they don't, then we get to draw some more cards and hopefully make some inroads into this game. We've still got quite a lot of life. So we've got a lot of turns to work with. So they're going to attack with both of them. I'll maze one of them and then they'll sack it to blow up the library. That's what I suspect is going to happen this turn. Oh, they have a Boseiju. Yes, I'll take a free land. So this means we can now cast a Karn if we draw it. Now, we don't really have anything very good to get with the Karn, which is part of the problem. But we can maybe distract them with it a little bit. So let's save ourselves 2 life. So our opponent hasn't actually cast a spell yet, because they just used the Boseiju. Now, they might not care about these flipping. It adds 2 power to the board, but if they can play a creature, okay, they'd just rather have them flipped. Excellent. So we've drawn life from the Loam. So we can get Dark Depths, Thespian stage, and interesting. I think it's probably just Sejiri Steppe here. So there we go, 1 and 1. Get these little lands into play. We will play our Thespian stage first. We might be gaining 20 life again in the near future. So what we can do is we can Thespian stage into a basic land if they play a Wasteland. So ideally they'll play a land before they go to combat, because otherwise we kind of don't want to sacrifice. We don't want to use our Maze of Ith because then they can just kill our Thespian stage here if they have a Wasteland. But I guess we have life from the Loam, so we don't really care too much about that. So let's just say goodbye to this guy. If they have a Wasteland, it slows us down a turn, but it's not the end of the world. Again, we've got so much life to work with. Okay, it didn't have a Wasteland. I think we will draw this back now, just so it's ready after we play this little combo. So we're going to do this in our opponent's upkeep to dodge Wasteland. So this becomes this, and we can tap the Dark Depth due to the Yavimaya here. Keep this one. So we now have a guy. If they play any flyer blockers, we can Sejiri Steppe them. But their flyer blockers might be something like a Flicker Wisp. I doubt it, but it's possible. And that would be very bad for our poor little Merit Lage. But other flyer blockers, we can Sejiri Steppe our way through. And if they've got something like Wandering Emperor, we can Sejiri Steppe protection from white before we attack. Just in case they have something that affects when it's tapped, like the Wandering Emperor. Have we done enough here? Our opponent hasn't played any spells for a while, so they've got to have something in hand. It's a hard cast Solitude. It sure is. Okay. We gain 20 life again. Sure. It's not so bad for us. Now they do have a guy that's going to gain them life above and beyond, but we can Maze of Ith that creature. So in theory, they shouldn't get above 20, so we can still one-shot them in a bit. So we take 3 here, we go down to 43. Probably worth keeping an eye on our clock as well, make sure that we do our turns relatively quickly. Pop our graveyard out since we're going to be doing a lot of stuff with our graveyard now. Alright, let's Life from the Loam back. Thespian stage, Dark Depths, and an Urza Saga. Again, Urza Saga, not great here. We'll play out our Thespian stage and pass our turn. So we can Maze of Ith the Solitude to prevent us not being able to one-shot them. The next turn we can make a 20-20. And just keep doing this. And we've got enough life that we're fine here. There's the Wasteland. Interesting. If they snap this off, do we Maze of Ith? I think we still Maze of Ith here. Like, we can just regrow this anyway. They will Thespian stage. They will hit our Thespian stage, I imagine, here. I think that's the sensible thing to do. Thalia. Okay. That makes our Life from the Loam cost 1 more mana. They're not using the Wasteland here. Interesting. I think we draw the Life from the Loam so it's ready for next time. Okay. Then we play this Dark Depths. And we pass the 10. If we drew a Wasteland there, then we could try and Wasteland there. Wasteland. So we'll Maze of Ith this guy. And we will copy the Dark Depths. So we have a creature to block with. They will Wasteland our Thespian stage probably. Choose a Dark Depths to keep. They haven't Wastelanded. That's really interesting to me. Okay, so they're going to do it with this trigger on the stack. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that makes sense. Ignore me. Alright, so again, we've still got a lot of life to work with. We just go through the motions a few more turns. Yeah. Bit tired today. Alright, let's see if we can eventually get there. If they start doing some graveyard hate, then we're in trouble. We draw a regular card here, and there's a Saga, not the one we wanted. Dark Depths, Thespian stage, and might as well take the other Dark Depths for later. 1, 2, 3. 2 mana, 4 spike from our opponent. This is going to be an endurance. It is an endurance. That's pretty bad for us. Okay, so we're back to... we didn't even play a land turn, did we? I just F6 through my turn there. Oops. Alright, so we're going to get this life from the Loam back. Let's keep doing it. We don't really have any exciting lands to play here either because we don't really want to hurt ourselves and these don't do anything. So maybe we're not even supposed to play a land. Yeah, our opponent's clock is pretty fierce here. We'll stop you gaining life. And then we can F6 through the turns. Yeah, so we can't F6 through all the turns because we have to do our Maze of Ith stuff. Alright, so let's see if we can life from the Loam here. They might have a second endurance. I doubt it. Okay, a Wasteland and an Urza Saga. 2, 3. Let's get these into play. Not really sure this Wasteland's doing us any good. I think maybe we're just going to play the Sejiri Steppe just so we have another mana source. I guess we can tap the Ancient Tomb with the Yavimaya though. Yeah, that's probably worth doing. Sure. These Frenzied Trap Breakers are just so brutal against what we're doing here. Completely shuts off like 2/3 of our deck really. It shuts off the Urza Saga, it shuts off the Painter combo really. Unless we can draw all the pieces. It's just another 4 mana, so it's not going to be an endurance. And a Ajani. Alright. So it's probably going to distribute a bunch of counters. So we're taking 4, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We're not dead this turn, we're dead the turn after. So we have to life from the Loam into Glacial Chasm to survive. But then that only buys us 1 more turn. Can we win if we only have 1 more turn? So Glacial Chasm, take 2. We can rebuy the Glacial Chasm every turn. But that's not going to get us anywhere. Well, I guess we may as well dredge this. It's their own time we're wasting it at the end of the day. So this time we probably have to ping back the biggest. Might as well ping back this guy. Oh, this doesn't really matter which guy I ping back here, does it? Alright, let's ping back this guy. Because if we have slightly more life, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, that means we can actually pay the Glacial Chasm once. Again, we have to find it off of this life from the Loam. We're on 1 actually here, aren't we? 4, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Alright. No, we're dead. Yeah, our opponent's answers lined up very well to what we were doing there. It was so, like I was saying earlier, and I got distracted, the strengths of our deck are also the weaknesses. So we have all these disparate plans, but because we're not really dedicated to doing one thing, it means that it's not that difficult to take away certain pieces of our plans. So like the Wasteland took away our plan quite badly there. The Trap Finders, Trap Breakers, whatever they're called, they can take away our plan on their own quite effectively. It's not like we're playing something like Turbo Depths where things can interrupt you, but your whole deck is dedicated to doing your thing and you have more redundancy and you have more ways of protecting what you're doing. We don't have that because we're sort of going wider with more things. Now, sometimes that means we're going to get sort of messed up a little bit. I don't think we played this round optimally, but I don't think we win this round if we played a little bit tighter either. Our opponent's answers were just very good. Now, the first game, if we'd have made the Dark Depths instead of going in on the Painter kill, then I think we'd have been in a better spot because we could have gained 20 life if they had the removal. Because the only removal spell they could have had was Solitude. So I think we misplayed that one slightly. We could have bought ourselves another turn. So I think we should have won the first game. So we should have got 3 games out of this and maybe we win. So I think this one's on me. Maybe. We don't know how the third game would have been. But all right, let's go to round 3. Alright, so this hand lets us play a turn 1 Sylvan Library. I think that's good enough to keep. I would like some more land here instead of one of these explorations, but I think turn 1 Sylvan Library is going to cover a lot of sins here. Okay, so they're just Greenstone's anything and not just mashing us up with Thoughtseize. That would have been very bad for us. Another Sylvan Library. Okay, so the only way we can play this is if we go Mox Diamond into something. So I think we're going to get rid of the Yavimaya here, because this is part of our combo and this will give us mana anyway. So let's see if this Sylvan Library is going to be good enough. We can draw some cards. So, okay, so our opponent is an elf deck and they're about to have an elfy turn. So they're going to play a 1-drop elf, then they're going to play Cradle. Oh wow, they're just doing this. Interesting. Allosaurus Shepherd. So they're just cycling for 2 with this. Is that it? They just cycled with the glimpses. That's very strange to me. They really mustn't have much going on in their hand. So let's use our library. So we've got this Karn. I don't mind that. This is very bad, so this can go on top of our library. We don't need another one of these. This can go on top of our library. So our hand is real bad. I think we play this out. Maybe we're supposed to take the life there. We don't want to name green because they can do things with green. I think we'll name black just in case I have snuff out because we've seen the Bayou. So maybe we're supposed to just take some cards at Sylvan Library and power through those bad cards. Heritage Druid. Allosaurus Shepherd. Which is a natural order. Could be. Tapping for 3. Why was Symbiote? So this can untap. So we can just F6 right now. So they can untap their Allosaurus Shepherd and attack with that and a Crater Hoof this turn if that's the thing they want to do. They might be able to play some more creatures. Okay. This feels like a natural order turn. Okay, no, they're just playing more Heritage Druid out. Sure. So they got. Oh, so they're doing it with a Boseiju. Oh, we're a big fan of that shuffle though. Is it going to matter here? So we take 16. So we can't library, and they can make all their guys big next turn. So we're looking for Glacial Chasm here. Dark Depths. We don't have a Yavimaya, so we can't Dark Depths and Pithing Needle here. We obviously can't play 4 life either, so we can Pithing Needle the Allosaurus Shepherd, but then we die to the other stuff. We can make a 20/20 and put it in front here, but they can just activate this and kill us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, our opponent's just got us coming and going. We're close, but not close enough. We'll just concede here. All right. Let's have a look at our sideboard. These kill elves. That's not nothing. And crop rotation is going to be useful here. These Karns feel like they're going to be pretty bad. Maybe if we're getting rid of Karns, we want to board in these as well. Do we have enough time to play Sylvan Library games? I don't think we do here. The Haywire Mite's probably not doing a lot either. So probably looking at something like this configuration. If they've got a Traxxas, we're going to want to keep in our Karakas. I guess Bojuka Bog we don't need, so we can get rid of that and maybe have a Sylvan Library in. Boseiju can hit a Cradle, so I don't hate that. The Sejiri Steppe, how useful is that going to be? It protects our Painted Servant from Force of Vigor, so I think we have to keep that in. Yeah, I think this is more or less where we're at. Sure, we'll try like this. Our opponent is obviously playing like a good polished deck, and we're sort of playing a bit of a spicy brew. This is a turn 3 kill. We can't use this Mox Diamond though, so green mana is going to be a bit awkward. But we don't really need green mana. Okay, I think we'll keep this though. We go Saga into Painter Ancient Tomb next turn. Now, if we draw a green source, then we can obviously do something different next turn. But we can play the Painter, but have some other options. If we draw a land, we can use the Mox Diamond and have up a green source in case we get like snagged by a Boseiju or something. We can crop rotate away our Saga. Ooh, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Do I think we're better off trying to... I think we're just going to Ancient Tomb here and get our Painted Servant up and running. Because if this somehow goes wrong, we can then get our Dark Depths going. So we could crack this now and have the crop rotation up by getting rid of the Dark Depths. But if they get rid of our Painter or our Urza Saga, then we'll just have the mana to play this Dark Depths, because they'll have to Boseiju the Saga. So if they Boseiju the Saga, we'll get a land that can then turn into a... Okay, maybe we won't have to do that. Yeah, we're getting pretty punished for the old line we took there. Sure. All right. Yeah, I was going to say, so we can crop rotate into the other combo if they have an answer for one of our things. So the problem we have here isn't so much of a problem if we... yeah, so we can play this out and then Life from the Loam these back. So Life from the Loam, targeting these two lands. This is green. And this. Let's get this back. We can cast this. And then we can play out our Dark Depths here. And then next turn we can crop rotate into the 2020. So we have to survive 2 of our opponent's turns here. Greenstone's Zenith for 1. Sure. What's this going to be? Heritage Druid, Nettle Sentinel, or Wild Symbiote, I would imagine. Probably somewhere in that one. Quirion Ranger, okay. Similar to Wild Symbiote, but a little bit different. This is, if you don't have a lot of land, this is how you make more mana. Alright, so we're getting a glimpse going. We might as well just F6 for these turns, right? So, Heritage Druid, and a land. So, it's the buy. Is that all they're doing? We won't dredge that. We'll just draw off 10. A Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth. That's a pretty good one here. So we can play this Yavimaya out. So we can make this guy instant speed if we need to. But if we need to Glacial Chasm to live, we can also do that. So we have 2 options. It gives us 20 toughness to soak up stuff with. Sure. So our opponent could have a very good turn here, but it still might not do the thing it needs to do. We can't F6 either because our opponent might force us to Glacial Chasm, and we also want to make our guy a turn. So a lot of things to think about here. 3 mana. Let's say they've replayed the buy, so they're not getting a Cradle turn here. A Natural Order, sure. So how big is this going to be? We might just be able to soak up the damage with our guy. So we have 3 mana, because we tap the Ancient Tomb, we don't have to actually take damage from it because of the Yavimaya. Okay. 11, 7, 7. So we can take 14 this turn and then kill them on the backswing. That seems okay to me. So we go green, 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 green. Crop rotate away. Is it the Ancient Tomb? Or is it the... It's probably Ancient Tomb because we're not going to have any life left, are we? So this gets us a Thespian stage. Yeah, so then we copy this, make a 2020, block here, take 14 going to 1, and then kill them for 20 in the air. All right, so that worked. But now we've got to do it on the draw. I don't think we want to change anything here. Let's just see how we go. Our opponent hasn't had very good glimpses so far. Okay, Glacial Chasm is something we can definitely survive with. But where does our hand go from there? We'll be drawing a load of cards of Sylvan Library, and we have this Exploration. So I think we can keep this one. If we can find a Life from the Loam, we can draw a lot of cards. Because we can shuffle away the stuff on top with Sylvan Library with the dredge, and then we can just dredge and play 3 lands a turn because of the double exploration. And that'll be pretty good. Boseiju has entered the revealed card zone. Okay. Understood, opponent. Okay, let's have a Yavimaya here. So we can play this, play an Exploration, play an Urza Saga. So we can either play an Exploration or we can play this Pithing Needle on Boseiju, which I think we want to do here. If they Boseiju our Urza Saga, how bad is that for us? If they Boseiju our Yavimaya, we go and get a forest, so it's not the end of the world. If they get rid of our Urza Saga, that's annoying, but it's not that bad. Maybe we don't name that. Maybe we name... I don't really mind us getting Boseiju'd too much. Maybe we're supposed to name Wild Symbiote. I think that's probably the better name here. The other option is Allosaurus Shepherd. But if they spend their turn to Boseiju us, that's a turn they're not committing to the board. So I'm pretty happy about them doing that. There's a Boseiju. Okay, they're just playing it. Sure. Greenstone's only for 2. This is going to be Collector Roof, maybe? To shut down our Painter half of our deck. Which is fine. It's pretty good. It could just be an Elvish Visionary. And just trying to get some card advantage going, which means our Wayward Symbiote name means that they can't rebounce and play it. We're in an okay spot. A Scavenging Ooze. Okay, so our life from the Loam is going to be bad. Understood. We can still use it to shuffle off bad cards from Sylvan Library, though. Force of Vigor. That's so rude. It doesn't get us anything. We tap it for mana, so that's pretty bad for us. So now what? Like we can play a Sylvan Library here. I think we have to do this really horrible play, don't we? Yuck. So tap this for green. That's for green. Sacrifice the Chasm to play this. Because we need some more cards. Like what we've got in our hand isn't good enough. And we don't have the lands to just... We can't just play Glacial Chasm and sit there. So there's the Wayward Symbiote. That can't use its abilities. We're just going to sort of get crunched a little bit. Alright, this is alright though. We can kill something. Yes, I would like to use its ability. We need to go through these, right? Sure. Not a fan of that, but I don't think we have a better option. We have multiple Grindstones, so I'm going to play one of these out. If our opponent wants to Boseiju it, then we get a land. We need to see a fresh 3 cards on top of our library next turn. You can eat our lands, that's fine. I think we are losing this game. Force of Vigor is a pretty potent card when it blows up your lands. Okay, so we will use this. We can draw 1 extra card if we think it's going to be good. But it'll have to be pretty good. So this can go on top of our library. We can get a Maze of Ith with a crop rotation here. But we'll lose our access to mana. We can play an Urza Saga, play a Painter's Servant, block and maybe live, and then spike the land next turn to win. That's the game we got, right? We'll name black so that they can't snuff it out just in case that's the thing they have. So we need a land in the top 3 cards for next turn, and we need to not die this turn. It shouldn't be... Well, I say it shouldn't be that hard to not die. With what's on the board right now, we're not dead. However... Okay, Karn Ranger. That doesn't change things. Okay. So they're floating. 3. Okay, so we're going to get natural order and die this turn. Yep. Show us that the monster's not in your hand and we'll concede. Yep, sure. Yeah, so... Just feels like we have too many redundant pieces in our deck at this point. Is what I'm getting the impression of. I'm not really liking this deck, even though I kind of like some of the things it does. Alright, we're 0-3. Now we're trying to dodge the 0-5. So let's go into round 4 and see if we can turn it around. Alright, we've got a hand that lets us play turn 1 Sylvan Library. So I think we do that. Maybe this is the game where we get to do our thing. So we go Yavimaya, Mox Diamond pitching the spare Yavimaya, Sylvan Library. This is going to be a Chalice of the Void. That doesn't actually impact us too much. It means we can't cast our Grindstone, which is a real thing, but they've played a City of Traitors, so there's a very real cost for them doing this. Okay, we immediately draw a card that gets punished by the City of Traitors there. Sure. By the Chalice, I mean. Right, let's play this Mox Diamond. Goodbye, Yavimaya. So we're pretty much just looking for a Thespian stage here. I'm not really convinced by the explorations in this deck. Now, you will get some hands where you just have, like, I cast Exploration on turn 1, I make a 20/20 on turn 2. We've had a lot of times where it's kind of fought against other stuff in the deck. Like, Mox Diamond has synergy with the fact that it pumps your Urza Saga tokens. And it also gives you colours, whereas Exploration doesn't do that. Okay, another City of Traitors. It's going to be a Karn. Karn would be pretty good. A Thought Not Seer. So this can't take the thing we care about, weirdly. So this is okay. We probably lose the Painter's Servant here, because the other things are locked by the Chalice anyway. Yeah, as we suspected. So do we have the thing in the top cards of our library? Let's have a look. We do. So we'll put this on top of our library, put this on top of our library. We will play out a Thespian stage. We don't have a basic to target, which is a little bit of an issue here, but I doubt our opponent has City of Traitors and Wasteland in the same deck. Although Eldrazi used to run that. I don't know if our opponent's running Eldrazi though, or they just happen to be running Thoughtless here because it's a good card. It's a very different approach. So we're going to take 4 here. I think I lose our City of Traitors here. We're getting a Matter Reshaper maybe? Maybe they are on Eldrazi. It's been a while. Trinisphere. Okay, we beat that. And our opponent has made it so that they might not be able to cast any spells here. They know we have the Dark Depths here. So yes to this and have a look at some more cards, because who doesn't like looking at more cards? Yeah, we just put this on top. Put this on top, we don't need these. We just play out our Dark Depths. So go, we'll make this in our opponent's upkeep. This can target this. We can tap the Dark Depths and the Yavimaya for it. Just because they might be running a Wasteland in there. Because when I used to play Eldrazi, once upon a time, we did have Wastelands in there. We weren't playing Trinisphere though. Alright, so we've got the concession. So our opponent is on some sort of stompy deck. What does that mean? Good question. It probably means that some amount of our 1-drops are going to rot away in our hand. Do we have anything better to bring in? So our sideboard hasn't really been doing... Excuse me, it hasn't really been doing that much. Do I think these things are going to be useful? Not really. I honestly don't know if we have anything I want to bring in. Like, we could bring in Leyline Helm just as a thing to replace our 1-drops with if we think we're going to get caught under Chalice and stuff. I don't hate that, but it doesn't seem great. Bojuka Bog's probably not going to do anything here. Boseiju will definitely have text. And we don't have additional artifact destruction in this list either, which is not great. Chasm's definitely going to do some stuff. We don't know if Karakas is going to be good. These other things we don't know if they're going to be good. Haywire Mite's going to be very good here. Pithing Needle. I don't know if we're going to want the Pithing Needle. Maybe we can get rid of this. We need to find 4 more slots if we want these though. I guess we're supposed to board out. I guess we only need 5 slots, right? Because we leave 1 in the board if we're boarding these in. Just as like an alternate way of winning. Crop rotation or expiration. Honestly, I've been very unimpressed with the expirations. So maybe we'll try boarding out some expirations. Maybe we want 2 expirations, 2 crop rotations. Maybe something along these lines. And we still have the combo in the board if we want it. Let's just try this. I don't think Leyline is going to do anything against our opponent. We're only playing it because I think it's another way that we can win the game, and we need as many cards as possible that do something. And I don't think having loads of stuff that are going to get stuck under Chalice or Trinisphere is the way. I don't like having 2 Leylines in my hand. But this Mox Diamond is also pretty awkward. We just don't really have the land. I think we should be mulliganing here. What does this hand do? We have our combo. We have both combos. I think we keep this. But we're in an awkward spot as to what to get rid of here. Because we need to pitch a land to the Mox Diamond. So we kind of need to keep all of our lands here. So maybe we're pitching the Reclaimer because we already have our combo in hand. Alright. Our hand is good. We have both combos available to us. We need 1 more mana source to do our Dark Depths. Or our Pain of 7. They're both kind of like 3 mana things a lot of the way. Because you need the Thespian stage plus 2 mana. Ancient Tomb, we're getting Chalice because that's going to shut off our Grindstone plan. They are playing the Chalice, sure. So we can't get the Grindstone here. So we are very much on the let's try and make a 2020. Now our opponent doesn't know we're playing Pain of 7 here. I don't believe. Okay, we immediately draw a thing that we don't want. Not helpful. So we'll play this Thespian stage. Do we have to play this Mox Diamond? I think we want to play the Mox Diamond because if our opponent plays a Trinisphere next turn, we're going to want to have this in play. We're not going to want to spend 3 mana to play this. And I think we will play this guy out now. And we'll name Black. I don't think it matters what we name there. And we can just F6 through this turn because we don't really have anything going on. So I wonder what they are. So they could be like an initiative deck, but they've just sort of got this extra Thought Knot Syrian. But that seems weird because your initiative things overload. Ugh, that's bad. We've been getting absolutely bodied by Force of Vigor all day here. We got nothing. We're not playing our Dark Depths out there. Maybe that's wrong. Alright, we're in trouble here. Yeah, we should have played our Dark Depths. I just misclicked through my turn there. because we got Force of Vigor and I got distracted. Trinosphere. Okay. F6 for a turn. Sure. If we draw a Yavimaya here, we'll feel bad. Okay. We didn't draw the Yavimaya, so it doesn't matter too much. So if we draw Yavimaya, we can probably win this game. But yeah, getting bodied by the old Force of Vigor 2 games in a row is... multiple rounds in a row is not where I want to be with this deck. But we have a non-artifacty way of winning the game. So, alright, they're just on Monkey Beatdown here. So, Urza's Saga. This is a land that gets us 1 step closer. This is also a thing that can get us an expedition map. Oh, they're just scooping it up. That's very premature to me, but I do think we are winning this game. Weirdly, if our opponents... Okay, yeah, so we make a 20-20 next turn, so that's pretty good. So, a bit of an early scoop, I think, from our opponent, but I do think we're winning. So we'll go on to the final round. We've dodged the A5. Let's see if we can get 2-3. Okay, so we have a turn 3 20-20 with this hand, and we can maybe distract our opponent with some other bells and whistles along the way. So I think we can keep this one. We are on the draw, though, so that might be too slow for some of the decks in the format. Ugh, like this one, for example. So we're going to lose our crop rotation here so that we can't get a Bojuka Bog, I imagine, and we're just going to get reanimated into the dirt. I've played this game before. Yeah, there's the crop rotation. They might be able to go off this turn anyway. A Cabal Therapy, yikes. We're losing the map or we're losing the painter? We're losing the map. They don't want us to play anything. Understood. So, with that change to what's happened, are we supposed to change what we're doing and just wasteland our opponent? I think so. Because we still have enough mana to play Yavimaya into Sylvan Library. And that should hopefully cover a multitude of sins. Because Sylvan Library is a very good card. Ancient Tomb. Okay. I hope you need coloured mana for whatever you're doing. Maybe they do. I think this turn we play out the Bojuka Bog. I think it's free to do so. And it stops the Cabal Therapy and the Grief being things that they can do. Alright, maybe we can turn this ship around. You use a lot of resources on turn 1. Alright. Coloured mana over there. I think we are on play this into Sylvan Library. Get ourselves some more cards. Next turn we do have the combo sewn up because of Yavimaya. And we've drawn this thing. Okay, okay. I think I know what deck our opponent is. It's the... Okay, Helm Obedience, that's fine. It's the... It's like the Rector deck. It does a bunch of stuff. So I have all these Thespian stages here. We'll put this on top of our library and put this on top of our library. And then we'll play this Dark Depths. And we'll pass the turn. Our opponent's end step. We'll play 3 mana and then we'll turn this bog into a Thespian stage and we'll kill our opponent. If our opponent has a Doughty Voidwalker here, we lose. But they don't have black actually, so they need black first. Cabal Therapy. I'm going to crop rotate this away first. And go and get Thespian stage. Because I think that's what they would name. Alright, they can't beat a 20-20. Excellent. So, our opponent is like, I think it's the Rector Helm deck. So, it uses the Rector that puts the Planeswalkers into play. I can't remember what it's called. Academy? No. I can't remember the exact name of that one. So that's something we're going to have to worry about. Now, our opponent needs Leyline in the Void. Needs a graveyard for Rector to work because it's a when it enters the graveyard trigger. If it gets to exiled instead of dying, it won't get anything, which means we're going to want this Helm of Obedience. Karn will shut down their Helm of Obedience. So I like having these things available to us. Crop rotation, if they're doing graveyard shenanigans, is also fine. This means we're going to be cutting some cards. I've been cutting Exploration in the last round, and that felt quite good. So I'm going to take their Exploration out again. I just don't think it's where I want to be. Boseiju has text here. Karakas, it might have something like a Shouldered, so I'd very much like to keep that around. Our graveyard is probably not going to have a great time in the face of Leyline Helm deck, so we're just going to get rid of these. We don't have any way apart from the Boseiju to get rid of it, which is not great for us. But here we go. Let's just have a whole bunch of win conditions and see if that's good enough. Okay. So this shuts down their Rector plan. It shuts down the Therapy a little bit as well. And then we can sort of ease into the game with a decent selection of things here. It's not going to be a blisteringly fast game, hopefully. We do have this Life from the Loam, which isn't going to do anything for us. But we didn't know they were going to have a ley line immediately. Okay, so let's play out our little lad here. So we can do a turn... If we play the Yavimaya... No, we can still do a turn 3 because of their Urza. Yeah, we can do a turn 3 2020 here. Because next time we can play out a forest, turn it into a Dark Depths. Next time we play this and we can kill them. Now, are we just going to get Sudden Edict? Okay, I guess we're just playing... We're not going to do that, and we're going to play out our Sylvan Library next turn instead, sure. So I think we play out this Thespian stage, play this out, colourless green. Right. Yeah, so there's going to be a few turns in this game, I think, in general, but the turns are going to be quite quick. It's going to be windmill magic. Okay, so this is us dead, I think. Oh, it's just a grief. Okay, I certainly conceded then. I just assumed they had the helm. All right, so we say goodbye to our Life from the Loam that wasn't doing anything anyway. And we get to look at 3 cards. If one of them is Dark Depths, we win the game. Oh, we can win the game with Helm if we want to as well. We'll put this on top of our library and put this on top of our library. I think we are just supposed to play out the depths here. Our opponent might scoop in their end step. We want our opponent to tap out here. If they don't tap out, maybe we're not supposed to activate this because we're going straight into a really obvious Sudden Edict. So I might not do that if they don't tap out here. An Ancient Tomb on top of our library is what we're looking for here. Not an Ancient Tomb. We'll put this on top of our library. And we'll put this on top of our library. Or do you want to pay for life? I think we can pay for life here. And so we could just play out the Helm. Can our opponent beat Helm if it's just face up? They're more likely to be able to take it out of our hand. So I think we just deploy the Helm here. You got a turn, opponent. Now, if they had the Sudden Edict and we played into it, we'd lose 2 lands. We'd be a long way away from the winning the game. Now, we can do this. If this fails, we can also make a 2020. So we have 2 ways of winning the game next turn. Sweet. So we got the 2-3 there with a pretty speedy one showing how the extra combos and stuff will work. So that last one sort of showcased that we can do multiple things. Whereas the other ones, it was we have multiple points of failure was the issue there. So let's talk about this deck. So what we're doing with this deck is we are doing several things badly in order to be doing several things, which is an interesting way of playing Magic. And sometimes that works out quite well. It depends how much your different things can sort of coalesce around each other, like how much overlap there was. So at the start, we said that on paper, we've got this mana ramp, which affects this sort of stuff in terms of our Thespian stage combo. So it's good for that. It's good for getting mana to make our Painter's Servant go off. And it's also good for doing our Urza Saga plan. So in theory, this was pretty good. Now in practice, these cards, like the Mox Diamonds were good, but well, they were quite good, but they often just ended up getting blown up, which was an issue. But that's more to do with powerful sideboard cards, I think. But the Exploration was rarely a thing that we were that into. Like, it's very good with Life from the Loam, but I don't think you want to be playing 4 Exploration. Maybe you don't even want to be playing Exploration at all. Like maybe just have 4 Mox Diamonds and then have 3 more slots to kind of shore up some of the things we're doing here. Maybe have more of a Wasteland package, so you can also then just go into the Life from the Loam, you into the Dirt plan. So maybe that's an option we could take here. But I do think that this is an example of doing multiple different things where you end up with so many cards that don't do anything on their own. So let's explain what I mean. So we don't have that many exciting lands to copy apart from our Thespian stage, right? Apart from our Dark Depths. Now we can copy a Maze of Ith sometimes. We got 1 Maze of Ith. We got a few bullets, but we're not like copying things that much. Apart from the Urza Saga, which we can copy, we need a lot of mana to do that. And that's not something we've really had a lot in this game because we have lands that don't tap for mana, right? We got Chasm, we got Maze of Ith, we got lands that come into play tapped. We have disappearing lands, and you know we got Wastelanded a lot, and we got our mana sources blown up too. So that's partly on the way the game's played out, more so than necessarily immediate problems of the deck composition. But I do think we have some issues. So let's have a look at these cards. So we've got these cards that don't do anything on their own, right? That's not that's not too many cards, but 12 is a lot. You know, it's a sixth of the deck, so it's quite a lot. Then we've also got these explorations, which quite often didn't do anything. Like the Mox Diamond was a little bit of acceleration, but we were kind of just accelerating into a 2-drop. And that was kind of it. Or accelerating into Saga, which to be fair is fine. So I don't really think we can moan too much about this. But it kind of plays at odds with the exploration a little bit. So we sometimes had hands with both of them, but they were just about keepable. So these sort of don't do anything on their own. Now our Karn package is really poor, right? Our Karn package is basically just these 2 cards. So these Karns aren't actually doing anything a lot of the time. So this basically, in our deck, if we don't have the other half of the combo, this card doesn't do anything unless our opponent's got a load of artifacts we can snipe off or whatever. So we've got a third of our deck almost that doesn't do anything. That is an enormous amount of air in a deck. And we had it where our opponent would kill like half of our stuff. And then we draw half of a different combo. So we were pulling in so many directions that it just didn't work. Now, there's definitely ways that it can line up where your opponent can't deal with both your things, you're attacking on different axes, and you get them. Definitely. Like, if you draw a bit better, you can do quite well with this. But I think the numbers aren't in your favour with this deck. If you look at all of this, that's a lot of air that is not going to get us anywhere. Now, if you were to fix a sideboard, like, I don't think our sideboard is very good here, right? Lots of times we got to our sideboard and we're like, oh, what are we supposed to board in here? Like, our opponent's not using their graveyard and they're not a blue deck. We board in 1 crop rotation, maybe? Like, in that last game, we board in Leyline, which was bad. You know, we only boarded it in because we had other cards that were just bad in the matchup, and we thought we may as well try and get another thing that can steal a win because we had too much air in our deck. We tried to sort of pull out the air. If we just keep having more and more things here, we might be able to win the game. That was kind of what I was thinking. It worked, but I don't think it was good. So I think this sideboard isn't very good. If we had a little Karn package in here, so, you know, a lattice, an ensnaring bridge, and a liquid metal coating, just something like that, that would probably go a long way to, like, reducing the air a little bit. Because, you know, we'd have these, and if we were actually getting rid of explorations, because we got Mox Diamonds, so we have a 4th Mox Diamonds here, then we've got these 3. So we could do this and have 2 more Karns and have a fleshed out Karn package. Maybe get rid of this crop rotation, or alternatively, turn this exploration into a crop rotation, and then you've got 4 slots here that you've basically opened up for a Karn package. That would be probably a lot better than where we're at right now, to be honest, because it doesn't feel like our Karn does anything unless we have half of what we need already. So yeah, I'm sorry to say, it's our first donation deck on the channel from the membership scheme that I run, and we didn't do very well with it, and I don't particularly think this deck works. Like, on paper I thought, okay, we've got different angles of attack and stuff, but having played it and thinking about it a bit more, it does just feel like we're kind of running on fumes a lot of the time. And because our lands package isn't even that extensive, we can't just life and Loam our way into a game, because, like, yeah, if we have our Wasteland, sure. And, you know, we did get unfortunate play against the double Outland Liberator in play by turn 3 sort of deck. That just meant our Urza Saga, we couldn't loot them or do anything with them. But, like, we're not really doing anything else here. We don't have a full set of Wastelands to, like, really sort of put the screws into someone. So it just feels like we're too wide with how we're spread in this deck, and we need to be a bit more focused. I prefer, like, sort of more focused decks. So, like, maybe we shouldn't be a Karn deck, for example. Like, I have seen Monogreen painted deck, different Monogreen painted decks. A friend of mine from the Painter Discord, who's on YouTube, that you should definitely check out, called Lightwalker. He ran a green painted deck a little while back, I think, and did quite well with it. And that was, I think it might have been a Karn list as well, but it was more dedicated painted. It wasn't playing all this lands package and stuff in it. So I think you can kind of finesse one way and maybe, like, have something, like, have a little backup plan, but we're kind of fully into the plans with not much grease on the wheels apart from the Sylvan Library to get us there. So I think I've voiced my complaints about this deck, to be honest. I think we could definitely improve this one a fair bit by, you know, changing these up and doing the other things I said. So hopefully you enjoyed this one, and I hope that my friend of the channel, who submit this deck is okay with how I've played this one. I don't think we played perfect, but again, I was picking this deck up for the first time. I made a couple of little mistakes. I think we could have won that one round against that sort of mavericky deck. I'm a little bit annoyed with myself about that one, about not making the guy, because I was saying it as I was doing it that we could get solituded here, and I just sort of walked right into it. So that's on me. So maybe we could have got a 3-2 out of this one. So maybe that would have worked. But I still think this deck has some fundamental issues, as I've highlighted. All right, I've rambled on quite a bit, so I think we can wrap it up there. If you're still here, like, comment, subscribe. Why not become a member of the channel? You can just give a little bit a month to help me sort of keep doing this stuff, or you can give a lot and get your decks on the channel for me to play. All right, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.